Our interviewer tonight is a lamb who joined in 2014, Gus Rosendale from NBC4.
My guess is, if you're here, you love Brenda, you're a fan. And I think in the next hour or so, the one thing we're going to accomplish is you're going to love her even more. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, big welcome, Brenda Vaccaro.
How are you? Are you excited about this?
Not particularly.
Do you like sitting here and not being able to see the faces? Are you more familiar?
Well, I'm accustomed to it.
Well, are you comfortable? You've done everything. Were you more comfortable?
What does that mean, I've done everything?
Well, but you're talking about as a
But I mean, I had my share of different medias, if that's what you mean.
What's easier? Do you like to see an audience?
None that's easy.
Do you like the camera, or what's the difference?
I love the camera. The camera loves me too. That's more important than me loving the camera. But sometimes, if you see that the camera doesn't like somebody, it's so interesting. That's when I give the camera a name. Like, hi, Ted. No, but I mean, it's just an interesting kind of thing that I've discovered is that the camera seems to be like alive in a sense of it just doesn't fall in love with somebody. And then you see somebody else and you go, my God, that's great. Every single little twitch, every little kind of mouth movement, and you know the camera loves it. Do you know what I mean? Because you hear a director, sometimes in the rushes, sitting in the back of the room going, camera loves that guy. You know, there's a comment made like that because everybody on a film knows sort of who the camera loves and doesn't love. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Is there a trick to working with camera? What is the things you do? It's a yes or no sort of thing?
Kirk Douglas said an interesting thing to me once. He said, Brenda, a really close up. He said, which is probably a lens, 85 lens. He said, don't move. You can be moving your hands. Don't put that in the camera. He said, just try to be as still as you can because it's like that close. So there's a different kind of acting that's called for, and it's called silence. You know, hardly move. I said, will it match? He said, well, you have to think about it. You know, because what you do in the first part of the scene is not what you may do in a close-up, that close. So, but he was a teacher. He was like, he taught me a lot about the camera. The camera's an interesting human being. I call it a friend or a foe.
How do you adjust this? You've done, you also started the stage.
Yeah, I was on the stage first.
And at this era, I would imagine also the microphones, as we used some weird ones tonight, were they even being used then? Did you have to project and act to a certain level that was bigger than obviously...
On stage, there were no mics.
Nothing.
Thank God.
Why is that?
Because there's an echo.
Yeah. But the ghost of that production is
I don't think you need a mic. But anyway, I prefer not to be with a mic because I think it distorts the voice. I have a little laryngitis anyway, so, you know, the last thing I need is a mic to make it more clear that I have laryngitis. Anyway, so what was the question, guys?
Well, I'm talking about range and how you adjust your work for, obviously you're a film
On
cast.
stage, there's no mics.
No mics.
When I see mics now on stage, I go, oh.
Why?
I don't know, I just hate them. I think it distorts the sound. You know, imagine if you're in a huge theater, like the one down where the American Airlines is, what's that? Yeah.
42nd Street.
Yeah.
American Airlines.
Is that it? That theater is so big. There was a great play there, and the play failed because it was like a small play. It should have been, you know, an off-Broadway house, small, cozy, Cherry Lane Theater. Instead, it's in this huge thing. Everybody had a mic on it. It was like, ooh, Birthday Candles, it was called. And it was really a good play. And it closed.
Tell me, this is actually
Yeah, this is better.
It's better stage.
Gus and I had lunch together, so we did.
Yes.
It was so much fun to do
And
that.
7 hours later, no, gave it to it. But you know, you're a New Yorker, but you're not really a New Yorker. That's not a controversial thing. You're born.
Why do you say it?
Well, you grew up in Texas. You grew up in Dallas.
Momentarily.
You're taking issue with that.
A few years.
A few years, you came back to New York at 17.
And then when I went back to Dallas to see these girls I went to a hockey day with, Brenda, how are you? God, I left. Are you still in your acting career? I couldn't believe, I said, Melissa? And I couldn't believe how she sounded. So it was definitely momentary, but it had its influence, it had its effect.
How did you get into acting school back then? From like,
I lied.
Okay, tell me the story.
You had to be-
application, so I had remind me that the acting school fix it.
And I'm very good at lying.
So how do you like send
Yeah, I really
a letter, a
I'm a
form?
gorgeous liar.
How do you like? Who'd you like?
Well, because I said to my mother, I'm going to go to the neighborhood high school for theater. She said, really? I said, yeah. I read about it and I want to go. And so they sent me to New York, and when I took the interview, he said, are you 18? I said, yes, I am. I was 17. My birthday was not until November. I think I was there in July. So that was a big lie. And they didn't check it out. So in September, I started school. And I was there for like 2 years. It meant everything to me. I mean, everybody was there. Dabney, Jessica Walter, James Caan. It was a hell of a class. It was just great, all of them great talents. Jessica Walter was divine. Everybody was just so talented. It was an exciting place to be. And after 2 years then, I went out and tried to get a job. My Aunt Marge designed wedding dresses. I modeled for her. Me and Jane Fonda. And Jane Fonda was looking for jobs too. So you would get first modeling jobs, you know. I remember Playtex Bras was doing bathing suits. And the first day I came out in a bathing suit, can you imagine Playtex bathing suits? They were already in trouble.
I mean, was this a one-piece number?
Yeah, no,
Floral? Or
actually,
what was it?
it was, I think it was a one piece, but I had a mouth on me.
No.
Not only did I say I was 18 and lied,
Yeah.
but I had a mouth on me. So the guy who was there, who was looking to buy these new bathing suits, said to me when I came out in the bathing suit, and I was a pretty cute cookie then, so I was 17, 18. And I come out, he says, well, so how does it feel in the crotch? I said, that's a disgusting question. And I see the guy that runs the place coming up, and he said, can I talk to you a minute? I got fired.
Are
You can't talk to people looking to buy a bathing suit like that.
Are you auditioning during this period? Are you working or auditioning?
Well, anytime I had a chance to audition, I would.
What was that like back then? I feel like it's totally different now. People audition with Zoom, they record themselves. And are you going in on these cattle calls? So it's one-on-one?
Cattle calls.
I mean, like, what's
That's just a terrible way to say anything about auditioning.
But,
I'm a cattle.
auditions are tough. So, like, what was it like?
Well, they're tough, but they're fun.
You found auditions tough.
I did, no.
Is it easy fun?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I really always had fun with them. I think Eric Burroughs thought that. He came walking down with Cactus Flower and he said, you're having a good time, aren't you? I said, I am. You? You know, and I remember my first day, no, maybe the 8th day of rehearsal. And at the neighborhood playhouse, they were very big on improvisations. So we would do something in the middle of a Tennessee Williams play, we'd start improvising. You know, and the teacher would go, very good, that was very good. So I was into improvising, and so with Bert Brinkeroff, I was doing a lot of improvs. You know, thinking I'm finding the scene, I'm finding what I'm supposed to do. And as I'm leaving, Abe Burroughs said to me as I was walking up the aisle, hey kid, you did good today, you said at least 2 of my lines. He was the best. So it was okay. Auditioning was okay for me. I was born to do what I did, and I had fun doing it, and I was joyous about it, and I try to tell kids today, don't ever think of it as rejection. Think of it as they just went in a different direction. And just keep having fun. Do it because you're jolly about it, you know. And everybody has nerves. You have nerves looking for a job, period. I don't care what kind of job it is, you know.
What was the first big job you landed?
Everybody Loves Opal with Eileen Heckert and Stubby Kaye.
So you
you're on Broadway.
And she taught me the greatest thing. She said, if it's funny, you're going to get a laugh walking with your back to the audience. Just say the line and let them laugh. She was so great. And my mother used to take me to see the theater when I was very young, and I saw The Bad Seed. And she had a drunk scene in that. And I remember turning to my mother and saying, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. See, so I always say this to people about young kids. You know where you're going. Some kids know where they're going. I did. You know, my grandmother used to say, Amma, to my mother in Italian. I can't do it. And she'd say, all she does is look in the mirror and make faces all day long. And I was so little. It was like, I just knew. I knew.
Did you know you were going to Hollywood at that point?
No.
So how that happened?
I didn't think about Hollywood.
Oh, Hollywood came.
It was not that significant to me. I guess I wanted to be in the theater. And the name of class school in the theater was totally theater oriented. You know, that's what everybody was doing. We all wanted to be in a Broadway show.
So did
Or an
Hollywood?
off-Broadway show.
So did they come to New York? Were they looking for actors, or did you go out to Hollywood? Did an agent or someone say, "Look, you're doing great on Broadway, but you know, the big money, the big famous in Hollywood, you got to go there"?
Nobody talked like that.
Nobody talked about that.
Gus, nobody talked. Well, John Schlesinger saw me in How Now, Dow Jones. Yeah, I think it was How Now, Dow Jones. It's a musical. And he asked me to come in and audition for Midnight Cowboy.
Okay.
I had no idea what it was. He didn't give me the script to read either. So I just had a scene, and I came in and I did that. And he told me to come back the next day. I went, okay. I went back 4 times. Then the 4th time, John Boyd was there. And I thought, maybe I'm going to get this. You start getting savvy about auditions, you know? How many people are in the room? Is the producer there? Is the director there? You know, you just sort of begin to learn what it's all about, winning a part, or being right for the part. It was interesting. I had a good time. I really had a good time. I look back on it. I had a great time. Yeah, I did. And everything befell well for me. You know, like I was a waitress once for one day. I got fired from that too.
But I guess with Midnight Cowboys, I mean, it's been asked before.
What Midnight Cowboy?
At what point did they tell you this was a X-ray deal? Did you know that going in? That was
Well, John Schlesinger didn't. He said, "This is a blue movie."
a blue. Okay. But that was.
And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. You know, but he called it a blue movie. And I think in those days they talked about things
like.
like.
But did they set up this the famous scene you're in? It's revealing. It's very intimate. And did they? When you're doing this audition, this comes up now in Hollywood.
He was
What do you
rather
wear, what you don't
rusty,
wear.
John. He didn't really give a shit.
So.
You know, I mean, he just said, "Your mother's going to see your tits before anything else." Because the mink coat would open and there were my tits. And I said, "My mother's going to die. Before my face, she sees my tits." I mean, this is not a movie premiere she's going to miss. She'll miss this one, I think, maybe. You know, but it was not anything of any concern to me or John.
Yeah.
Voight.
You're just totally comfortable. It was just totally,
Good people. And John was a gentleman, John Boyd. And we giggled and laughed a lot. He was so funny. It was a wonderful experience. I wish I had something really shitty to say.
Your joy is what happened when you...
I had a joyous time.
What happened? Okay, you have fame on Broadway in New York in the 60s. What's the difference in things, especially at that time, in the 60s and the Midnight Cowboy, when today we have so many different forms of media.
We have what?
To a film, different types of media. To have a blockbuster film, you're one of the most famous people in the country almost instantly because it's a top film. What was that? Were you surprised at the reaction? Did you enjoy wherever you go, people were talking about you and looking at you?
No, I didn't notice it. I think I was too young, and I don't think that really happened that much. Plus, it's in New York. They don't stare at you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just sort of a nod because they know who you are. everybody's incredibly gracious and classic. Mostly it's been my experience. I never had a lunatic. You know, I never had anybody attack me like a lunatic, you know. It was, maybe there's a presence that's necessary when your work is done, you're happy, you've done it, you look forward to the next thing. It's like all of you, anybody who works, you know, your job is done. And so you look forward to the next day or the next job or whatever. You know, I was just a kid on my way to where I was going. I think that's really what it was. And I knew, you know, there's a movie called I Know Where I'm Going. And that famous director, Michael, he did The Red Shoes. I can't think of his name now. I worked with him on Name of the Game. And I really didn't know who he was. But that's a wonderful film. And I just adopted that phrase, I know where I'm going. Because I did. And I think that there's certain people in life, you're lucky, it's a kind of fortunate thing, that you kind of know what you got to do. And my father had a restaurant in Dallas, and he used to keep it open for the state fair in Dallas. And I think I was 11, I was like a little kid. I used to love to come because he'd leave it open and late for stars like Nat King Cole. He gave him the entire, my father almost went out of business in Dallas because of Nat King Cole. I mean, it was the 50s, you know what I mean? In Dallas, we got bad trouble down there. And what was I going to say? Jimmy Durante came in one night, and I happened to be in the restaurant. My mother remembers it better than me. But I ended up singing with him. How could you believe me? Said I loved you. And I ended up on the table with him singing this. And he said to my mother and father, she's going to be in show business. And I was so thrilled to hear that. And I was just a kid, you know. I don't remember it, and my mother remembered it a lot more than I did. She said, we didn't know how to hold you down. You know, so it was meant to be.
Did your parents enjoy watching you, seeing you?
I think my mother did. I think my father. He saw me in one thing, which was a Dallas theater, little theater. And it was The Flowering Peach by Clifford Odets. And Baruch Lumet directed it, Sidney Lumet's father, who knew? And I played the whore. And my father came backstage. And it was the only time he saw me on stage. And you know what he said to me? It was really great. He said, you have a voice that's made to work on one. Stop smoking. And I just looked at him because, of course, what was I, 17, 18, I don't remember. But I smoked. Like everybody smoked in those days. Yeah. And it was good, damn good advice. You know, but he never saw me again, and he died at age 53. So he really didn't have a journey with me. And he really wanted me to go to college. He just was heartbroken. He said, how can you give up 4 years, the last real freedom you'll ever have? He said, and then you'll walk away with all that wisdom, all that knowledge on you. No one can take that away from you. And I said, I know where I'm going. He said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to New York to get on the Broadway stage. He went, oh my God. How's my daughter picked the one thing that'll probably disappoint her in her whole life? I said, because I will be disappointed. And you know what? I wasn't. I wish he'd had been alive to see that. But anyway, he was right. Sometimes I think about it and I think, boy, I really did blow it. You know, going those 4 years probably would have been very, very interesting. I'd have been a lot more knowledgeable. And it just would have been a very good place to grow, you know. But I knew what I was doing, I knew where I was going. I'm one of the lucky ones. Because I didn't produce, all I did was give you the part, give me the script, and I'll give you what I got. You know, that's just who I was. And I knew it. can I have that wine? I don't want it to sit there. I don't want it to sit there and cheers. Of course, what else do you want to know, darling? Go to this table to us.
I'm absolutely right. I mean, I think we're getting to the essence of the secret of life, which is to love what you do.
That's it. How about you? Tell me about you.
But that's not. Look at the
wanna
small
know,
room. Look at the small
Did
room.
you always know that you would be doing this, Gus? I mean, that you would be a news person.
Yeah. My mother tells people I'm in prison now, but yeah. No, but there's something we do share in common. There's nothing else that you would do.
That's right. I knew it.
And you think, sometimes actors today do a lot of interviews where they sometimes they're miserable with the job. Well, they might be extremely
Why? How
successful.
do you mean that?
But does
Explain it.
that annoy you sometimes when you see a $1 million actor or actress talking about the challenge, how tough it is? Because you take
First of all,
joy.
somebody that makes $1 million and more is a little bit more grateful than that.
I would hope so. Not always.
I guess you interviewed somebody that was,
I think you all know by probably celebrities who are not always so gracious.
yeah, no, I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Yeah.
And rare to find somebody also who is to do Broadway, Hollywood, television is so successful. They don't make actors like that. It's hard to find. I can't do what people do all different mediums.
I don't know what to say about actors today. I don't know what to say. I taught for a while at New York Film Academy. In LA, that was the problem. You know what Hemingway said, people are places. You can take that little saying with you in your pocket tonight. Never forget it. It's so true. And the great people are here. And I can't believe how many years I threw away in LA. You know, but the work was there, the TV was there, the movies were there. Now everything's shifted. There's a lot of films are made here. Television survives here, you know. In my day, it didn't. You had to be there. You had to be at Universal, you know, with Lou Wasserman looking over you, you know. And it was just a different business. It was a different business.
Was it, I mean, maybe I'm a romanticized notion of Hollywood, the 60s and the 70s.
Why not?
Was it fun? I mean, it seemed like a fun and sexy time.
Sexy.
Well, we're working to that, you know.
I liked some of the actors I worked with.
Of course, some beautiful people, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Robert Mitchum just knocked my socks off. I just thought he was just incredible. He said, kid, watch out, you got the common touch. What does that mean? It means people think they can touch you, they can kiss you, they can hug you. He said, be careful. And I said, really? He said, yeah, what do you call it that? I said, touch. They think that they can have you. And he said, you gotta keep walking and don't look back. I thought that was a great piece of advice. You know, because sometimes people really can take your arm and say, just a minute, I want to, hey! You know, it doesn't happen often, and it's not something I'm afraid of. But in general, his advice was well taken. And he was just this incredible actor. He didn't act, he just was. If you all remember, Mitchum was just breathtakingly brilliant, and he had a lot of wisdom to give me. And more than that, I was in love with him. I just thought it was wonderful. And I said, here's what I want. I want you to leave your wife. I want you to take me to London, and that's where I want to live with you. I want to read books all the time with you. And he said, well, that'll never happen. I said, I figured. And he said, and if it did, it would have been with Shirley MacLaine. Who I loved him for. So one day, I was at Sandy Gallen's house. You're going to love this, because I didn't tell you this one. I'm at Sandy Gallen's house, and he gave these incredible parties. We all went. Of course, Sandy's dead now, and listen, he just brought people into your life that in Hollywood, you turn, it's an actor, it's a director. You can't meet an architect or somebody different, you know? So I'm sitting outside in the bar, in the garden, and there's Sarah Jessica Parker, Matthew Broderick, Baba Boom, Boom, Baba, Boom, Baba, all these people. And Shirley MacLaine is holding court and she's talking and talking, and she's talking about Mitchell, and she's talking about him in such a way that made him sound like such a dark person, you know, moody, and I was thinking, wow, I didn't find him like that. I mean, one night we got in a car, we went to see Maureen Stapleton about an hour away. They stayed up getting drunk and chatting and wonderful times. Anyway, so she's getting ready to leave. I think, here's my ace in the hole. This is my moment to do something. I know he'd love if I did this. And she's on her way out, and I follow her to her. She gets up out of the garden. She goes into the bedroom. She's got to leave that way, go through the living room and leave. As she's opening the door to leave the bedroom, I said, hey, Shirley. And she stops and she looks at me. Of course, she didn't pay any attention to me at all. And I said, I just want you to know something I know, and I want to tell you. So she stopped, she looked at me, she said, you know I did a movie with Mitchum. I know. I said, okay, and I loved him dearly. I had great fun. But he said an amazing thing. And I told her, I said, I asked him to take me to London and to live with me forever. I said, he was just one in a million. And she's looking at me like this. And he said that wasn't going to happen. And she went, ah. And I said, he said if he was going to do that, he would have done it with you. Shirley MacLaine. So she looked at me and she just stood there for a while. I thought, oh shit. She said, you're a class act. She walked out. And I'm glad I said it. I wanted her to know, because that was probably the love of his life. And you could see it in the movie when you look at the movie together. But he was like a father, a brother, a lover. He was like so wise. Nobody knew that he read all these books, and he was so well read. You know, for somebody that you think was just off the cuff all the time, he was really an erudite, intellectual guy, you know. I really was so pleased and proud to have been in a movie with him. And the first day I worked with him, I was up to his shoulder, and I was like, my hand was on his, you know, it was supposed to be his girlfriend. He said, are you nervous? I went,
First time you met him.
yeah,
First day.
just a touch. He said, well, don't be, because it's going to wear off anyway. You know, but I mean, everything about him was just...
Big stars.
Somebody dropped their teeth. That story got to you, right?
In general, now I think like Airport 77. When you read that cast list, it is
Mind-boggling.
mind-boggling. Did you actually, like, did people hang out and talk, or is everybody in the trailer? What was that like to work with that?
So weird.
Why?
Nobody talked to anybody. Joseph Cotton just stared at me. I mean, it was because it was generations away. Do you know what I mean? And everybody was wet every day because they wet us down. I have a picture of Olivia de Havilland with the eyelash, the fake eyelash. And she was, God damn it! Because they let the water go and she got sopping wet, which meant back into makeup and hair. You know, it was just some clumsy thing some guy did. It was a very difficult movie to make. All the stars were mind-boggling. Jimmy Stewart, everybody took a little bow in it. And when they'd come on the set, you'd go, is that Jimmy Stewart? You know, I mean, I was just like a teenager in the street. You know, I was impressed to say, yeah. There were a lot of people.
Oh, the cast list is...
Lee Grant and I had a terrible argument.
Oh, wow.
We were supposed to fight. You know,
Yeah.
she's trying to get off the plane. She was hurting me. I said, you're hurting me. Oh, God, it was terrible. But, I mean, it was a difficult film to make. Let's put it that way. And every day you came, I got pneumonia in it, as a matter of fact. And about 6 weeks ago, the producer's son sent me a picture of me jumping off the plane into the ocean with 6 baby seals in plastic boats going. After 2 weeks at home trying to get better, the first day I get back, okay, we're doing the shot where you jump off the boat in the water. And I went, What? The ocean?
And was it really the ocean? Was it a tank somewhere?
No, it was the ocean. Take a picture.
That must be some fun.
If I could get my phone and show you all, you'd go, oh, shit.
Welcome back to the moment.
It was so shocking, it was so shocking. But it was just a hard picture to make technically. You know, there were so many moments where that goddamn thing would go off and the water would get all over one side of the plane, and it was difficult.
But a huge hit. I mean,
Was it?
a huge hit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your cover was. It made $91 million.
How do you know that?
And there was a point where people
I didn't get any of that.
people were starting.
91
It was a
million.
huge, it was a monster hit.
I had no idea. Well, you know, that's a tribute to the people that were in it then, because I'm telling you, there was every star you could have, everybody. And Olivia de Havilland didn't have a trailer, and I was so upset, because she's one of my favorite actresses. She was divine in the Paris. I mean, that performance was like, taught me everything about doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Doing less is more. And I went, the crew built her up at the very top where all the guys go with the lights. You have to climb ladders to get way up there. They built her a room. And I climbed all the way up to tell her she could have my trailer. She was insulted.
Oh.
That seems gracious.
But no, yes.
But it was that you had the.
It was like,
doing it?
no, I'm quite comfortable where I am, you know, and I couldn't be out, well, there was a Tiffany lamp, there was a bed, she was waiting there, telling you, it took me 5 minutes to climb up. She was fine, she didn't want anybody bothering her, and I think she thought it was presumptuous of me to suggest that the trailer would be better. She was quite happy that the crew had done it for her. I think it was a compliment, and I think they were taking care of her like, you know, but I was so, I worshipped her. I thought she was a great actress. You know, I'm trying to think who else was on that movie.
But what was the best, I don't know if that counts for it, but what was the best in a production that you were part of, in terms of just pure joy and having fun? It could be a Broadway movie, anything, but like, it's just like you're coming in going, I can't believe you're paying this.
I worked with some of the greatest, George Abbott, that was interesting.
Tough. Well,
He was me.
He's a tough reputation.
Tough.
Yeah, so you said it's fun.
You know, I was walking across the Commons with him in Boston. I said, how have you been doing it all this long, Mr. Abbott? You know, you had to call him Mr. And then he stopped, he looked at me, you want to know how I get through all this? I said, yeah. He said, I don't really give a damn about anything. And a shiver went up my back. I was like, so glad I asked that. My mother would have said, you see, you get what you asked for. You know, but I was so shocked he would say such a thing like that.
And it was just like, well, what show was it? It was
How now, Dow Jones? They fired, David Merrick was insane. And he fired Arthur Penn and Gillian Lynn, and he hired Michael Bennett. Who was that director? George Abbott. Yeah. And George Abbott was difficult. He was just a difficult man.
Difficult.
Are you a dancer? Over here. Are you a singer? Over there. Who are you? I said, I'm a star in the show. He said, well, stand over here. I mean, he was like, he didn't give it, you were a puppet. And he fired Madeline Kahn. Because he didn't understand her humor, he didn't understand her comedy. You know, and he fired Madeline Kahn, and she was so funny. She was so, he just cut the part out. But he came in, I know, it's a wow, it is a wow. There's extraordinary things that happen, you know, when you're in the theater. It's a great place to be. It's like just, you know, wallowing in diamonds and stones and emeralds and all of the things that happen that you learn. It's just the classiest, the best place to be. Anyway, I learned more in the theater than anywhere, except I learned a lot of. So Kirk Douglas used to say, when you walk on the set, walk on as though something's wrong. So that everybody cares about you. You're right. I don't get you anything. How about a Bloody Mary? How about a double shot of vodka? He told me that, and I was, that's the last thing I am.
Yeah, I don't see.
It was so against who I was, you know. I love the crew, and the crew loves me. You know, these guys make the movie. If they don't like you, you're in trouble. You know, they hated Lauren Bacall and Cactus Flower. They had sandbags hanging. So I asked the guy, Gus, I didn't get this one at lunchtime. And they had these sandbags all hanging, and I asked one guy, once I said, why are all these things there? He said, because we're waiting to drop them on that bitch. She was tough stuff.
Did you ever work with her directly in your past roles?
I was in Cactus Flower with her for almost 2 years.
So you're in that show with her?
Yeah.
What was your interaction with her on stage?
I really didn't like her.
She just arm's length, just see on stage?
She would tell the stage manager to tell me something. So one night, I just went downstairs.
She wouldn't even talk to you. She would just say, tell her.
Well, it was because of my performance. She was jealous of everybody. She was a weak bird on stage. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't her place. Film, she was great. She knew how to handle that great. But she was weak on stage. You'd hear her in her dressing room. I was upstairs. Ma, 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 ma. And that's going to help your performance. You know. Anyway, one day, she said to the stage manager, tell her to come down here. I have this to tell her. And he told me what she was going to tell me. I went, are you serious? And the guy was old. He was an old guy that was a stage manager, and opening night she asked him to go out and get Bromacell support. She had an upset stomach. He said, I'm the stage manager. It's half hour. I can't go yet. I mean, that's how out of it she was. Do you know what I mean about the theater? And so she wanted to see me. I went downstairs, and I opened the door, and out came Vivian Lee drunk. And it was like, wow. You know, I'm so sorry. And I thought, oh my God. And I walked in and I said, I heard you had a problem. She said, yeah, you know between your lines you're going, I said, no, that's not what I'm doing. And so she said, and you see my feet, I'm already tapping. Because I was like ready to go for her like you can't believe. And she said, I don't want you to do any kind of stuttering or oohing or ahhing. I said, listen to me. Some people can tell me what to do on stage, and some people can't. You're one of them that can't. And I walked out and slammed the door. And I heard her say, all right, well, when you're a star, I guess you'll... And I didn't even hear the end. She was, about a month later, I went up the stairs, she hit me with her bag, and she said, alligator bag. And she said, oh, Mickey, are you listening to this?
I am.
Oh, okay, good, yeah, you remember? Because Mickey was in her amaze. Anyway, she hits me with her bag and she says, don't you say hello, bitch? And I guess that was the end of the cold, you know. I said, yeah, hi. You know, I was willing to be friends. She was a tough cookie. And I think she was nervous about being on stage. She got relaxed and had an affair with Barry Nelson. That made it better. You know, in a way I liked her a lot because I thought she was a resilient bitch. You know, she was going to make it through life pretty good. And I finished a movie with Al Pacino called You Don't Know Jack. We were celebrating the Jack Kevorkian at Joe Allen's. Al wouldn't meet him before the movie was over. I can understand. So as I'm leaving, she's sitting at a table with a girlfriend. And what is she, 90-something?
Yeah.
Huh?
The film was in 2010, so yeah, about that.
And I passed and her eyes were so tiny. But I think when you get old, they get tiny. And I passed her, and I saw her look at me, and I looked at her. And I made a choice. And the choice was to say nothing. You know, so she was a difficult lady for me. Most of the time I got along with, loved Maureen Stapleton, loved Kim Stanley. She was crazy, but I loved her. And, you know, I had a great and rich and vitally educated life in the theater. I learned so much from the great people that I worked from, where in terms of the difference in film, no one really gives you that kind of wisdom. You don't really learn that much from somebody. Everybody's so into themselves or into the makeup or the hair. You know, I loved Melina McCure. She was adorable. At 6 o'clock in the morning, darling, I'm not working that day. I'm so happy. Darling, come to the set immediately. They're killing me. What's wrong? I don't know, darling. I'm nude. I have white makeup on. Everything is a mistake. I'm doing a scene with that bitch. It was a Lexus, somebody I get, a famous lady. And I quickly got into the car and went down there, and sure enough, she looked terrible. Her makeup was all white. She was nude in a fur rug. I mean, I don't know what it was all about. But I said, I'm here. What can I do? Darling, take me for a drink. This is at 7 in the morning. And you're making the director, Guy Green, think that I'm taking you for a drink. Are you crazy? You know, but I loved her. She was magnificent, a magnificent preacher. I know why Jules Dassin was like in love with her. I know why every man that ever met her. One time she told me, meet me at the Beverly Hills Hotel at 5 o'clock. I was there at 4:45. I waited. She showed up in a Volkswagen and 6 guys got out of the car. I just stood there and I said, there's nobody in the world like you. Who are these people? Oh, darling, all my lovers. All my boys, I love them. She was Greek, beyond Greek. Wasn't she wonderful? No, I mean, she was an amazing lady. Anyway, go ahead, Gus. I'm going on.
They came out of a Volkswagen? A small car?
I'm telling you, all right, maybe 5.
Oh, I think it was 6.
I don't know where they were. They were all on each other's laps and they got out of the car. And then she said goodbye to all of them and she walked with me. She said, let us walk and speak of love, of life, of fucking, let's talk about everything. And I went with her. I adored her. She came to my house and danced with Greek music and a large skirt. I don't know. I've met some great girls.
Yeah, I know.
The best was her. Now, I shouldn't say it. All right, I'm just going to say this because I think you're my friends out there. A lot of my family friends, this one over here I've known 100 years, I adore her. I was watching the costumes on the Met party. That foolish woman with bangs gets all the time. You didn't have to say her name, everybody knows. But it's true. I don't know what Bill Nye is doing, but he's lost his mind. Anyway, she's there, and she gives this party, okay? I've never been. Thank you, God. And I see all these people with no clothes on. And I'm watching them carefully, quietly. I'm old enough to be quiet and get an opinion. And I finally said to my friend sitting there, I said, we're living in the age of vulgarity. Something's happened here. Nobody would do this 5 years ago or even 3. Look at these people. Their tits are showing, their asses are showing. They have clothes you can see through. I mean, what's going on here? And because it's vulgar, which is the word I use, perhaps someone give me a better erudite word, but it's vulgar. There's no conscience. So along with vulgarity goes no conscience. And that's the trouble we're in. So when I see young actors, I see people, I go, they haven't got it. I don't know what they've got. And I'm not a good measurement for that. But am I impressed? Rarely. Name me some actors.
But don't you think that's also...
Am I wrong? Gus?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all, but it's, you know...
I don't know.
As someone who...
I don't mind being wrong.
But, you know, there was a time you covered the Met Gala department. You knew everybody going up the stairs. I mean, everyone was a star.
And they look beautiful.
They look beautiful. We also knew who they were. Now, and it's just changing times, they're inviting social media influencers So might have 1 million people that watch them on TikTok, whatever it is, but you and I, maybe others in the street don't know that. It's more splinter, where.
Splinter is a good word,
And
splinter.
so you have,
I like that
You
word.
don't all gather around and watch one show, I mean, you're famous for one commercial. People, everybody in this room, this spans generations. No one talks about a commercial, like one particular show.
You're famous for one commercial, so that means you can show up in a tulle dress when you're at your show, and God forbid sing the front.
That's the opposite now.
You know, I went to see MJ opening night, oh no, the night he won the Tony.
Yeah.
I love that kid,
Yeah,
I
good.
think he's amazing.
Really good.
And so I go to tap on the green and I get out of the car and I'm standing in line to get in. And the girl in front of me, her S was like this. She's in a tulle dress. I went, I don't know if I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Tulle. Remember tulle?
I gotta think, what's it
We used to go to high school in tulle dresses. For when, the end of the year. It's a sheer netting. It's sheer, it's so sheer, you can see hair through it. And I was standing in that tournament. I don't believe this. God forbid I sit down and she walks towards me. Because what's the front like? These are the things that happen that you go, where am I? What is this? And why is all of this happening? Or why is there no conscience anymore? Why have we lost a sense of decency and a sense of being, respectful? I don't know, of the other person's presence, whoever it might be.
We share too much.
We share
Everything.
with no clothes on.
Sometimes I share.
I don't understand it. What do you think it is that we've come this far to be these kind of people?
That's a possible question. I think we share.
Don't you find that in your interviews when you well, no, they can't come on you, really. They come
I
on,
haven't had a nude guest yet. I'm sure, sooner or later, that's how bad the ratings get.
well, look, I said,
That's who it is. I gotta ask, you talked about Kirk Douglas a few times. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Michael Douglas. I think that's okay.
well, he's a great chap.
Yeah.
No, he's a lovely guy. He's, doesn't know too much about women. But I loved every minute with him. He was charming, he was fun. We had such a good time. Unfortunately, it was 70s, there was nothing but drugs. When someone went like this, it wasn't to say hello, it was they were in the bathroom. So it was just, it became a drug life. And everybody got lost in it and died from it. People were dropping like flies, And so it was a difficult time. But I absolutely adored him. I loved Ann, I loved Kirk. His brother was great. Eric, sad little guy, but it was a family. And I'll never look back and not say that Michael was a wonderful, wonderful friend for a while. The interesting thing was, you got to work it afterwards, when it's over, when something's over. People let go, and you don't work at that friendship that you had, keeping it. It changes. Everything in life changes. So when that relationship changes, you can keep it as long as it doesn't have the expectations of the first. So instead of going back here, you start from here and go forward, at least with respect, at least with some kind of good memory, so that if you want to have lunch one day with them, you can, and have a laugh and have a memory. And because it's really, when you throw them away, you're throwing yourself away. So Jimmy Ferrantino wrote this great thing and said, this is a relationship that has lasted. He's talking about Michelle Lee. And he said, and if we let it go and we didn't work at it, what would it say about who you are, what you are, what your son is, and what your life is about? So I thought that was a great thing when I read it. And I thought, I would rather work towards friendship than have it just disappear. Like it never happened. Because then, when I look at Michael now, and his mother died and he invited me to the memorial, which was very touching. I was very glad he did. I adored his mother. She was Bermudian, but very English. And I went and was talking to him and I said, I hope that one day we can have a cup of tea and talk about Diana. And, you know, I was talking and I looked up at him and he was looking away. He wasn't looking at me. You know, so what you do is you pay your dues for not taking care of what you did have, changing it into a friendship that you can call upon. Now, a lot of people know how to do that and to do it. So I'm not saying that this is not a common practice among those that are smarter than, you know, some people, but to keep a relationship that meant something seems to me more important than letting it go and never looking back. But when you're young, you're ruthless. So, did anybody ever see, what is that movie I love? The Worst Person in the World. It's Norwegian. Go home and watch it. It's so brilliant. Because really what it says is when we're in our 20s, we're so ruthless. We just have a relationship and then we leave it. You know, meet somebody else at a party, neck with them. You can take the books out of the shelves, move on. It just shows this recklessness of movement, changing your mind, learning who you are. I mean, it's a great film, but
But that's not your way. I mean, it's
well, I was reckless.
As you said,
Weren't you reckless when you were 18
Oh,
and 20 and
that's
20?
normal, of course, but
That's
you
normal.
stick with people. I think it's part of the process. You stick with people. You sort of improve people.
I've walked away from plenty.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You have regrets about that?
Yeah, I do. I do
do.
because it's,
Sometimes it's quite good, but other times.
and especially, we're talking about Michael, I wish that I had a relationship with him. You know what I mean? We don't. We just didn't work at it, you know? I mean, now what I've learned recently is that life is changes. And you just kind of flow and blow through those changes.
You talked about Al Pacino before and the Jack Kevorkian film.
I love it.
And I think we have a lot of actors here.
You do?
Sometimes I think a few people, I think there's a performance.
Is this a class?
I hope you're learning something. But
I do too.
But you've talked, I mean, and that scene that you have with him in the restaurant, it's very powerful.
Totally improvised.
That's-
There was no script.
Well, the script was there, but it wasn't good. I think every actor.
That's true. I
Yeah,
told you the
writers
script. The
appear.
script was terrible.
You got the script.
The writer had no idea. I read it in a book.
So how do
Go ahead.
But all of a sudden, you sit down with a partner, look, buddy, we got this big scene. We want it to be a big scene, but the script.
Go ahead.
The script kind of sucks. So how do you introduce the idea of, now I guess, when it's you, Al, you're big stars, you'd say, well, do whatever you want. And is that kind of what happened? You said, you know what, just follow me. Well, what happened? It's powerful.
Oh, it's this thing. It was a great moment in time. I shall never forget it. It was a love affair for sure, just because of that day. It was Al and I took off on a Persian rug and didn't come back. You know, into the sky, and then you're so far gone, you don't even know where you're going. You don't know if you're flying. You don't know nothing. You just keep going. And that's what happened. Because I read in a book that he blamed his sister and his sister's daughter.
This is Kevorkian.
Kevorkian, forgive me, thank you. His sister's, yeah. The daughter revealed by showing checks to the FBI. That's how they got him and put him in prison for 8 years. The daughter was kind of kooky and sloppy. So, strong. That's you. Tell him not a drinker. And so, I read in a book that they didn't talk for 6 months and then she died. And he was sort of autistic. He was a strange bird. I liked him, but he was weird. And so, where was I?
So you're going to meet and do this. I mean, there's a lot of
No, wait a minute about him. I read in a book that he didn't talk to his sister for 6 months, and then she died. And he wouldn't go to the hospital to recognize her, to identify her. He had a real problem with that. So I thought, what the hell went down? What is this? And so apparently he did not forgive her for the daughter leaking to the police. So that's how they caught him. Okay, I read it in the book. So one day we were given a day or 2 days with Al and Barry Levinson, God bless him, I loved him, and to have rehearsal. So I go and I bring the book. And it was written by a friend of Mr. Kevorkian. So the truth was in the book. And I told Barry, read these 3 pages. He read them, he said, Al, read this. I think we gotta do this scene. Al said, we gotta do this scene. Okay. The writer, unbeknownst to this book, was like given this chore to write this scene, which was not anywhere in his mind, nor did he know they didn't talk and turned off of each other. And you know, in the Armenian family, I guess when the brother is not married, the oldest sister has to take care of him, or she's close cook for him to care. So obviously this 6-month separation was really bad and strong. And so they wanted to do the scene. I was delighted. I thought, this is much better than what's in the script. So I guess they talked to the writer, and he wrote some clumsy thing that both Al and I read and went like, give me this paper, thank you. Yeah, we were like looking at it going, he said, I don't know, it doesn't work. I said, I know. I said, what do we do? He said, I don't know, let me think about it. So we're in Flint, Michigan. I'm upstairs getting into pajamas. We're going to shoot it the next day. And I get a call. Brenda, it's Al, I'm down in the bar. You want to come down? Why? I said, I'm about to go to bed. He said, let's rehearse the scene. I said, really? He said, yeah. Come on down. I'm having a steak and a potato. I went, okay, so actors are crazy. I love them. And anyway, I go downstairs and I sit down with him in the bar, and we start to read the scene. And all of a sudden, I look at the bar, and everybody at the bar is like, we got an audience! And I'm saying, Al, look over there. And he goes, oh, shit. He said, okay. I said, we can't do this thing. I said, you know, let's try to work at it tomorrow with Barry. Okay, go to bed. Get up in the morning, I'm standing off camera. Nothing has been done. I've learned my lines, and they're terrible lines. The writer had obviously no simpatico for this scene. And I'm standing there, and Al said, you know, this scene is very thin. I love Al. He always thinks things are thin. And I said, yeah, I agree. He said, let's just do it. I went, huh? He said, don't use the script, let's just do it. Are you ready? I said, yeah. Okay. And you mean, he said, that's it, let's just improv it. I said, you got it. We went and sat down, and I don't remember anything except at a certain point, I heard my Aunt Marge in Dallas, Texas, saying to me after all the family left and left her with her mother, who was bedridden, everybody left. So she said, what about me? What about me, huh? Everybody left and I'm alone here, what about me? And I heard her voice in my head, so I did it. I did her, because I thought that's how that woman would have felt. And I can't explain it except in every one of you in some way. It doesn't have to be acting. Find yourself sometimes in the middle of something and you're going, and all of a sudden you start flying and you don't know where you're going, but you don't care. It's like, it's okay up there. It's magic. That's what it is. It's magic. So that was the magical moment. I get up and I open the door and the bell went off. The alarm bell went off. So they had to go back and just shoot that part. But Barry, the reason, when I say to Al, who's the best director you ever worked with, he goes, Barry Levinson. I go, come on, Al, you've worked with everybody. Tell me really who is your favorite. He said Barry. Because Barry let us alone. He didn't stop and he didn't say, hey, what are you doing here? I didn't get up and come over and say, Gus, what are you doing? What's going on? You know, he knew something was magic. He didn't touch it. He didn't say a thing. And that scene, And when it was over, Al said to me, we just made cinematic history. I went, calm yourself. I mean, I didn't want to take that kind of credit just yet, you know what I mean? I wanted to think about it for a minute. I was scared to death that we had done something bad. I was like, oh, you know, and where's the writer?
Yeah.
Who's going to kill us, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, that was a magical day. And it's on YouTube, is it?
Yeah, that was a film, isn't it?
I wonder if Al knows that. He's, oh, no,
So
please.
we have a few minutes, so I was going to kind of go out to the crowd here. They seem very friendly.
Oh, you've been beautiful, and thank you all for coming. I want to say that I thought maybe, I was here once to see an actor, and hardly anybody showed up. I felt so bad. I kind of wanted to sit in different seats to look. But thank you all for coming. I'm sorry I couldn't. Anybody want to ask anything?
Project your voices, and we'll start with that nice gentleman in the front row.
Can I have some more wine?
We were honest.
Aaron, can I have some more wine? If I did a good job, honey. Go ahead.
Have you thought about writing a book?
This is a sore subject of me. Have you seen how many books all these stupid people are writing? I mean, what does it matter? A Sharon glass, boom.
I would buy it. If you wrote a book, I would buy it.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, and then I went not long ago to a place where Paul Newman's book is out, poor guy's dead. And the daughter's selling the book. And I thought, well, this is okay. But I mean, there's nobody that hasn't written a book, and I'm going, do you really have that much to say? In a book. In a book. A book you have to know how to write. There's something really important about writing and using language, you know, and beautiful words. And Adriana Trigiani, do you know Adriana Trigiani? She's an incredible writer, and she uses the English language so beautifully. I read her books, I go, you can't write, Brenda. Do you know what I mean? Because a writer has the gift of words, knows how to put them together, how to use them, and what am I going to tell stories of? Who I slept with?
I saw lights in my eyes. Hand up.
Anybody?
Yeah, she was extended.
Do you have any memories of Karen Black? She was around.
Who are you?
Karen Black.
Who are you?
Ray Barr is my name.
And why are you asking me about her?
Because she was working in Hollywood at the same time you were, and you must have rubbed shoulders.
Well, she was Henry Jaglom's lady.
Well, I don't know anything.
Do you remember about that?
No.
Why do you bring her up, though? Did you like her? Her eyes were too close together.
I have a story to tell about her.
Tell me, I'm serious.
No,
Give me,
you were
because what
both
you've
in
done.
Hollywood around the same time, I think. Airport? Did you bounce off one another then?
No. You know, I had so little to do with her only because we were in different social groups. Do you know what I mean? And she was with Henry Jaglom, and that was his girlfriend. He put her in a movie. She was very interesting in the movie she did with Jack and Peter Fonda. You know, but I really didn't know that much
Okay, I just thought you might have something to say.
about Karen Black.
About Karen.
I think it's so, I really didn't know her enough to give you anything of any value.
Okay.
You know, but I think she was an interesting lady. She didn't have much of a career, am I right? How many movies did you see that she
Well,
Forgive me because I'm not as knowledgeable as you are.
she said at some point she was through making big Hollywood movies, and I met her when she was making indies. Like,
She was very kittenish, wasn't she? She was lovely, sweet, soft.
I just thought you might remember something like that.
But that's so interesting that you asked me of all the people in the world. I love that you asked me about her. And trust me, I wish I had more to say because I think it's such an interesting person to pick up to ask me about. You know, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Bob?
Yes, I have a question, Brenda. Most of us wake up with a Brenda Vaccaro voice. So when you wake up, whose voice do you have in the morning? We wake up with a Brenda Vaccaro voice. Well, whose voice do you have in the morning?
Mine. I mean, that's a simple answer. Kind of better question. Listen, honey, right now it's not fair to judge me because I have laryngitis. And, it's difficult to say why this. My mother had this voice. And when she was very, very, very young, and that would be in 1920, she went in for an audition for a musical. And she had this voice. I think my mother's gift that I got from this one. And a lot of Italian women, including Anne Bancroft, thank you, Annie, had lower register voices. But she went in to sing a song that was a song of the day then. And a guy that was down there smoking a cigar, she said, played the piano, finally stopped and said, "We're not looking for baritones today." My mother said she shrunk off the stage.
I think we have time for one or two more. I see you.
What do you mean one or two more? Where are you going?
When you were talking about people being vulgar, I just got this epiphany. Have you ever thought of doing Chicago and singing Whatever Happened in Class?
Song for that phone.
Fran Weissler asked me to do Chicago. She's the producer. She wanted me to do the prison woman. I did not see myself in that part. I just didn't think I could do it. I just was not interested in it at all. And she sat me in the third row. I hated the show. I don't know, I didn't take to it much. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like I went, God, this is
Oh, please reconsider. I think that means you
No.
sell out the crowd.
And here's the other one. Let me say something more important that you will understand. Did you notice every time you sang a song, the actor would go over on a chair on the side, sit in the dark? Did you notice that? I'll be goddamned if I'll ever. You gotta leave the stage when you're not. You sing a song and then that's it. You leave. I mean, to sit over on a chair in the dark, whose idea was that? I mean, everything about it was like, I don't think not only did I have it to be a personal opinion, and I'm sure the show is enjoyable, right? It just, for me, I would not be happy to go there every night and do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially sitting in the dark, it's not good.
Sir, the light sweater?
He waved, he did his hand for me.
Oh.
Brenda, it's Ann Kittredge. I have a two-part question for you.
2 parts?
2 parts.
You got a lot of nerve.
It's my only chance to ask you. No.
Okay.
What role did you grow too old to play that you wished you had done? And what role...
Wait a minute, what was the first thing?
What role did you grow too old to be able to do that you wished you had done?
I grew too old?
And what role...
How old are you, Toots?
You're not letting me finish.
An old person answered that question.
And what role now are you eager to play?
Interesting question. It's like I'm in college. I'm not going to get in unless I answer these right? First of all, I think nothing of age. I would, of course, not play the part that Helen Hayes would play. What was that thing where she played the aunt? Remember, she came in great with Ingrid Bergman, was the young girl who was Russian. I can't think of it. But I would not. What is it?
Anastasia.
Ah, thank you. I would not choose to play that role. Not now. I don't know. I don't even know if I'll be acting then. So it's like, I can't answer that question well for you. But I don't like to think of old or young or, so many people who are young play old people. Have you ever seen them? Yes. They do a brilliant job. And I'm not good at it. My soul is young. Do you know what I mean? Everything about me is young. And so I have to be very careful that what I would choose to do that was old. I don't think I could do it old.
But that's not, my question isn't about age. No, my question isn't about age.
I don't think anybody give me no prize for that.
You know,
I mean, it's just not my, so I can't answer it intelligently because
Right, but my question isn't about age at all. It's really just about something that you wished you had been able to play, but you wouldn't be casting it now, and the part that you would like to play now that you haven't yet.
Jesus, are you in class?
No, I just think it's
You
cool
really need
to.
a teacher to answer that question. I think every role that I ever saw King Stanley do, I would like to do the Three Sisters Masha. Everything I ever saw, I wanted to do. That was done brilliantly, I went like, oh, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Because it was done so brilliantly that you want to go and see if you can do it. Do you know what I mean? There's that feeling. And I adore Geraldine Page. Oh, I'll give you a perfect example. Geraldine Page was Olga in The Three Sisters on Broadway. It's the Actors Studio production. Lee Strasberg directed it. I forget that part. Yeah, really, honestly. Anyway, so she's upstairs. They had built this wonderful set where downstairs where the sisters' bedroom is. But there was a room upstairs where Olga would go. And as Masha, that would be Kim Stanley is talking about her love for Sheena. You know, and Kim was so emotional. I love that man. And Olga is upstairs being the Russian spinster and going, you've got to stop him. And she's thinking, I'm in the back of the theater because I used to beg the usherattes, can I see the second act? You know, and they'd let me sneak in and I'd stand in the back and watch. And she was like, hey, come here. And I thought, my God, that's brilliant. I can't, when it gets dark, I get so nervous that I can't. I'm doing it terrible. She did it great. And I remember being mesmerized by Geraldine Page's brilliance, okay? I thought, one day, okay, so cut to a night where I'm doing a TV show, and the director was not much to talk about. Anyway, he's watching, and it's me, a mother, going up to the doorman saying, and my daughter's a runaway daughter. It was Gypsy. It was the series Gypsy. So I've got a runaway daughter, and I come with boots, and I say to the doorman, I just was here, I wanted to see Rachel, and if she's not here, I just wanted to leave her these boots because I know she's going hiking. And I wanted to be able to, and he said, oh, she hasn't been here for 6 weeks. And I went, 6 weeks? You mean she's not living here? No, ma'am, she's not. She left 6 weeks ago, and I'm going, are you serious? You mean, whoever I did it. Within 2 minutes, I hear, cut. Brenda, are you all right? That was the end of that genius movie. But you know what I'm saying? So, do I wish for things? Yes, I do. Are there parts that I didn't get that I would have loved? Yes, there are. And you know, and do I look forward to anything I might get that somebody else lost? Yes. You know, so, but I know what you mean. The only thing that comes close to it is my hiccups. Not accepted on any level.
Cats who organize stuff. If you're a lamb, would you please stand up?
Hey!
Oh my God, all the lambs were here.
Last November, our club voted in our annual meeting to elect Brenda as an honorary lamb. So you now have lunch in the club with your friends.
How many friends?
We have a pin for you, so it's like we're getting lavalier.
Oh, I'm so happy.
So let me come on this side.
Okay, okay.
Watch your hands, Kevin.
Congratulations.
Yay! Aww.